Ta'ala wa barakatuh. So we're looking at page number 37. Page number 37. So we completed the Noon Sakina and the Tanween rules. So now we're coming on to the next topic. So the rules of Noon and Mim Mushaddadatain, that has a tashdid on top. Sheikh Sulaiman al-Jamzuri rahimahullah, they write, وَغُنَّ مِيمًا ثُمَّ نُونًا شُدِّدًا وَسَمِّي كُلًا حَرْفَ غُنَّةٍ بَدًا. Just one line in this chapter, and it's very, very simple. وَغُنَّ مِيمًا, وَغُنَّ, and perform غُنَّ and do غُنَّ on what? Miman, on the letter Mim. ثُمَّ, then Noonan, on the letter Noon. When do we do the غُنَّ? شُدِّدًا, when it has tashdid on top of it. Okay? When it has a little W, shadda. وَسَمِّي كُلًا, and then name both of them, meaning the Noon mushaddad, Mim mushaddad. Name both of these two as what? Harfa, the letter Ghunna. Yeah? The letter of Ghunna. So somebody asked, what are the letters of Ghunna? Noon and Mim with tashdid, with a shadda on top, not on its own. If you just say Noon and Mim, then it's not, there's no Ghunna, Noon and Mim on its own. Only when they have tashdid. If you look over to the next page and look at this example. Hamma and Ham. Okay. In the Quran it's written as yeah, that's how it's written in the Quran. One Mim with a tashdid on top. Hammalat al-Hatab. Yeah? Only one Mim. In reality, this Mim has two Mims inside. And it's Ham, then it's Ma-lata. So Hammalata, one Mim, tashdid on top. But in reality it's Ham-ma. So what's happened here? Idgham. The first Mim has literally gone into the second Mim, merged into one. Okay? So it's assimilated. That's what idgham literally means. When you take one, put it into the other. So you have water, and you put squash into it. You can't differentiate, no, this part's squash. No, I'll put you a few drops of squash and I'll pour you some water. It's assimilated, it's mixed, it's one now. You can't undo it. Yeah? So when you're reciting this, you can't say, I want to stop, Ham, then continue, Malat al-Hatab. No, it's just one word. Hamma, Hamma. Same like Amma yatasa'aloon. Same. So wherever you have a tashdid, Al-Haqqah. So that one. Al-Ha. So Ha. Al-Haqqatu. That's how it was originally. So what did they do? These two became into a single meme with a tashdid. Sorry, single qaf. Not a meme. Single qaf. Make sense? Now this is quite important when you come onto the madud section. Okay? Because if you noticed, on this one, this sukoon here plays a key role in the mad that you're reciting here. Al-haqqatu. But this sukoon here, even though you physically can't see the sukoon, yeah? You physically can't see the sukoon, but this sukoon plays a key role in the actual mad. So when you come to the madud section, we're going to look at this example more closely, inshallah. So it mentions here, what is a mushaddada? If a letter has a shadda, the little w, okay, the little w, it is called mushaddada. A mushaddada letter consists of two assimilated letters. So there's two letters into a single form. The first being sakin, the first qaf is sakin, it has no fatha dhamma kasra. The first meme here has no fatha dhamma and kasra. They're both sakin. And the second, vowelized. The second one has a fatha or a dhamma or a kasra. Okay? Here, same, the second qaf has a fatha. You could even have a kasra or a dhamma, it doesn't make a difference. As long as the first one is sakin and the second one is mutaharrik, then you can do idgham. We're going to look at idgham section as well. So we'll come through because idgham is probably one of the biggest sections in Tajweed. So we're going to keep looking at idgham again and again. So we looked at idgham in Nun Sakina. Yeah? Now we're looking at idgham again in Nun and Mim Mushaddadatain. Yeah? In Tashdid, we're looking at idgham again. When you come to the Madud section, we're going to look at idgham again. Yeah? Then when we look at Mithlain, Mutaqaribain, Mutajanisain, we're going to look at idgham again. So idgham never finishes. It starts in the beginning of Tajweed and it stays to the end. And you could probably write a whole book on just idgham. That's how vast the subject of idgham is. And idgham, what's the purpose behind idgham? With the Arab, just like English people, rather than saying it is a boy, what do we say? It's a boy. Why? Why do we say it's a boy? Why not it is a boy? Easier. For tasheel, to make it easy to speak, quicker, to recite. Similarly in Arabic, okay? It makes it easier to recite. For example, reciting Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim Maliki Yawmiddin Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim Mima. It's a bit difficult. So you could do idgham here. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim Maliki Yawmiddin. So which one was easier? The second one. Yeah? So that's the whole purpose of idgham. So idgham, you're bringing the two into one. And it's easier and quicker. Yeah, so once you've taken the qaf into the second letter, the physical form, its entire sifat are transferred with it into the second letter. So there's nothing remains on that qaf. Okay? And the other thing, if you notice, it's meme and meme. It's not qaf and meme. It's qaf and qaf. Okay? So the sifat are identical. Once you've taken the qalqala sifa with this into the second one, you're going to be reciting the second one. Because the second one is mutaharrik, you won't do the qalqala. Okay? The qalqala automatically is dropped. Why? Because it's a mutaharrik letter now. So the emphasis does come in, similarly like ولا الضالين الحاقة. Now, if you notice, I'm sort of hitting the letter after the mad. So I'll do it again. ولا الضالين. That al must be there. Yeah. Now, if I didn't do that, and I recited it as ولا الضالين, incorrect. And you'd hear most of our Huffaz reciting as ولا الضالين, ضالين, and they actually make it two separate things, which is incorrect. And even to read it as ولا الضالين, lean, even if you join it slightly, it's still incorrect. Because that tashdeed, there's a double letter. So even the first letter, you're giving it right. You're giving it right. Why? Because there's a tashdeed there. So same here now. If I recite it as al-haqqa. So I haven't read this qaf then, have I? So what's the difference between these two? Al-ha. So here, al-ha. What's the difference between these two? Firstly, al-ha, there's a sukoon after it, remember? There's a sukoon there, yeah? So this is going to be what type of mad? Anybody know? So jumping ahead. Mad lazim. This is going to be mad lazim. Yeah? Okay. Would there be a mad lazim here? Mad lazim only comes into existence. We're going to talk about this in more detail when it comes to the Madud section. So if you don't understand it, don't worry about it. So here, this mad has only come into existence because of this silent qaf in there. If that silent qaf wasn't there, this mad would never exist. Okay? So this is recited as al-haqqa. Yeah? Okay. If I took that tashdeed away, I read it as qatu. So I dropped this qaf totally. So imagine I deleted that, which is here. Automatically that mad will disappear. Because that mad was only there because of this silent qaf. Yeah? Mad lazim only comes into existence when there's a sukoon after it. Yeah? Like mad muttasil and mad munfasil only come into existence because of the hamza after it. Yeah? So no sukoon, no mad lazim. So mad lazim automatically disappeared. So how would I recite this? Al-haqatu, which is not in the Quran. Yeah? Which is not in the Quran, which is incorrect. Yeah? But this al-ha would be two harakah. Remember yesterday mentioning one harakah, two harakas? So a single alif is just two harakas. So if that's ha, with the alif, double it. Ha qatu. So if I recited this as al-haqatu, incorrect. Now put the same theory onto waladhalin. If I read it as waladhalin, so I'm reading the second with no sukoon in there. If there's no sukoon in there, that mad doesn't exist. Does that make sense? Or have I lost you all? Okay, see, half of you is nodding and half of you is just.
So there needs to be tashdeed.
Yeah, so this tashdeed has a right. Without this tashdeed, the mad doesn't exist. Yeah? So just like here. Like walad dalin would be ضالين. Okay? If there's a tashdid here, which there is in the Quran, that's how it's written in the Quran. Yeah? So when you recite it, وَلَا, and there's tashdid here as well. وَلَا الضالين. Now, now look at the difference between these two. If I recited this as, so وَلَا ضَ, and I got rid of the tashdid, what happens then? Can I make this mad here? No. The mad only exists because of the tashdid. No tashdid, there's no mad at all. Make sense? Yeah. So the mad only exists because of the tashdid. So this, if I was to recite this without the tashdid, وَلَا الضَّالِينَ, that would be correct in Tajweed, incorrect because of I've changed the Quran basically. Yeah? So when you're reciting Surah Fatiha, you must recite it as وَلَا الضَّالِّينَ وَلَا الضَّالِّينَ. And we're going to talk about the Mad al-Lazim where you don't have to do this when we come to the Mudud section. But I just want to highlight the importance of the tashdid. Yeah? This is the importance of tashdid. You can't just neglect it. You can't just think of it as a small W. Yeah? And all the examples on page 38, you can look at them like Muhammad, Muhammad, Lamma, Thumma. All of them mean, there's double mean in there. Hence why the tashdid. Okay, what's the length and duration of a tashdid or a ghunna? Two. So the length of Nun Sakina, the ikhfa, was how long? 2 haraka. So ghunna is also 2 haraka. There's no difference in the length. So how do you differentiate between the two then? So what's the difference then between ikhfa and ghunna?
Oh, there's a small gap here.
Okay.
Yeah,
No, but bit more detailed. But the sound. Ghunna, where does the sound come from?
The nasal.
Only the nasal.
Yeah, only the nasal.
Yeah, ghunna, only the khayshum. It's called khayshum in Arabic. Khayshum. The nasal cavity. So, ghunna only comes through the nose. Ikhfa is split between the nose and the mouth. Okay? It's split between nose and the mouth. That's the difference. But in length, they're both identical. There's no difference between a ghunna and a ikhfa. So you notice some people when they're reciting Quran, on ikhfa, they're keeping it quite short. When it comes to ghunna, they've got the extra long duration of emphasis. Yeah? So it doesn't change. Ghunna and ikhfa are identical, okay, in length only. Any questions on that? We go to page number 41. You've all got this down, yeah? Whoever wants to write it down. I haven't tried it. Okay. So we're now going to be looking at Mim Sakina rules. So page 41. والميم إن تسكن والميم إن تسكن تاجي قبل الهجاء لألف لينة لذي الهجاء أحكامها ثلاثة لمن ضبط إخفاء إدغام وإظهار فقط فالأول الإخفاء عند الباء وسميه الشفوية للقراء. So والميم إن تسكن, so similar word they used again like the nun sakina. Yeah, وَلِلنُّونِ إِن تَسْكُنْ وَلِلتَّنْوِينِ. That's why I almost missed it, because I won't say tanween as well. So وَالْمِيمُ إِن تَسْكُنْ, when the meme becomes silent, تَجِي قَبْلَ الْهِجَى, and it comes before the letters of hija. Letters of hija are حروف التحجي, the letters of the Arabic alphabet. So hija in Arabic means alphabet. Okay. Then they mention except, yeah, la alifin, but not including the letter alif, meaning mim sakina, after it can come any letter except the letter alif. So any Arabic, it could be a ba, it could be a ta, it could be a tha, jim, ha, kha, dal, dhal, ra, zain, sin, shin, swad, dad, any letter. The only one we can't have after a mim sakina is an alif. Why? And then they mention لا ألف لينة لذي الهجا. In the first verse, the first half, they've used the word hija with the two-eyed ha, which is alphabet. In the second half of the verse, if you look at it, لا ألف لينة لذي الهجا with the ha. See how the meaning's changed? Ha means intellectuals, meaning this is a trick question. What I'm asking, this is Sheikh Sulaiman al-Jamzuri is mentioned to you a trick here, a point that you wouldn't normally think. So he's told you mim sakina after any letter except for alif, and he hasn't given you the reason why. He just said, and this is for the intellectual ones to understand. Okay, so let's think, why not alif? Yeah, good. So what would happen?
In order for it to sign, we have to have
Harakan alif. No, but like no, but here look, there's alif here sakin, there's alif here sakin. So alif can be recited with a letter before it, right? It can't be recited on its own. Alif needs a letter before it. Like Qaf, Fatha, Alif, Qa. Mim, Fatha, Alif, Ma. So Alif requires a letter before it and to have what on it? Fatha. So it could be read. So what are we talking about? Mim Sakina. If it's Mim Sakina and there's an Alif after it, what would happen? No, it's Mim Sakina. I just said to you, Mim, Fatha, Alif would read as Ma. But Mim doesn't have a Fatha. It's Sakin. Alif is Sakin. It's impossible to read. Yeah? Why? Because it's the gathering of two Sakin letters. So two Sakin letters will never ever gather together. It'll never happen in the Quran. So you never find this example anywhere in the Quran. Hence why Sheikh Salman al-Jamzuri mentions that Mim Sakina, when Mim becomes Sakin, after it can be any Arabic alphabet, La alifin layyinatin lidil hija. For those who understand, yeah, they'll understand why we can't have Alif after a Mim Sakina. Make sense?
Is this all only within one word? Like leaves up and
Yeah. So even in two words, it would never happen.
what if the leaves up that end in one word and
There won't be an Alif. There will no Alif won't be there. You could have a Hamza there. So Hamza will have a Zabur Zera Pesh, so you can read it. But there will never be an Alif on its own, because Alif you can't read. Okay? Alif is a letter that I have a lot of issues with. So I'll give an example. We teach our children the first letter of the Arabic alphabet is Alif. Yeah? So when does a child ever use the letter Alif? So when he starts reading the Quran, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, did he read Alif? No. Only time he's going to use Alif is when he reads Surah Baqarah, Alif, Lam, Mim. But do you start your child after you taught him the alphabet from Surah Baqarah? No. You start him from where? Qul a'udhu bi Rabbin Nas. There's no Alif. He doesn't read Alif, the word Alif. You know, I'm talking about Hamza, Lam and Fa. The phrase, the name Alif, Alif. He doesn't use that. Yes, he reads the Alif in, for example, Nas. Yeah, he just stretches the harakah. But the word Alif he doesn't actually use. Yeah? So my issue with, and then the only time he uses Alif is in as huruf al-muqatta'at in the Quran. So when we teach our children, we should try not to teach them the names of the letters, but more the sounds of the letters. So when you're teaching a child, rather than teaching, yeah, this is Alif, Ba, Sheen, N at the end. And then next page over, okay, Sheen, Fatha, Sha. Yeah, but Sheen, it's got N sound in there. Where's that gone? It should be Sheena, Sheenu, Sheeni. The child starts getting confused. I used to be a child one day, once upon a time ago. And child gets confused. It's too much name, sound. So it's easy to teach a child just the sounds of the letters. Okay, if you're teaching just the sounds of the letters, you can't teach him Alif. Because you're not going to teach Alif as A. That's a Hamza now. Okay? So Alif shouldn't be taught to a child. Alif you teach the child later on in the Qaida, after the child's learnt Fatha, Dhamma and Kasra, and now you want to, bring in the compound letters, bringing words together. Okay, that's Noon, Fatha, Alif, Na. Yeah? You could bring it in later on. But to start a child off from Alif, it doesn't make sense. And Alif is there for a purpose. It served a purpose over 1,000 years ago. So over 1,000 years ago, alif had its purpose when it was formed in that sequence, alif, ba, ta, tha. It had a purpose then. It does not have a purpose now, because we've evolved and changed from 1,000 years ago in our learning style and learning abilities. We'll talk about this in the last day, inshallah. I'll go through the history of Arabic language and the history of Quran and how it developed and where did this sukoon and shadda come from. So I'll talk about it in more detail then. But alif layyina. Alif layyina means alif would always be sakin. It would never have a fatha, dhamma, kasra. So you could never ever say alif zabar a, ba zabar ba. Alif zabar a doesn't exist. You're confusing a child, because alif never has a zabar, zero pesh. Okay? If it's got a zabar, zero pesh on it, it's not an alif, it's a hamza. Like if you noticed, I've put a hamza there, I've put a hamza here, and I've put a hamza here. Yeah? So even though you could write it as like that as well, idgham. But it's not an alif, that's just confusing a child. That's confusing a child. Oh, look, it's an alif with a zero underneath it. No, but it's not alif, it's an hamza. Okay? So when meme in taskun, when meme becomes silent, silent meaning no fatha, no dhamma, no kasra, taji qabla al-hija, and it comes before the Arabic alphabet. La alifin, except for alif. Other than alif, and which type of alif? Layyina, the silent alif. Lidhil hija, lidhil hija, for the intellectual ones. Ahkamuha, its rulings are thalathatun, 3. Liman dabat, for the one who wishes to learn, for the one who wishes to understand. Ikhfa, that's the first one. Idgham, second one. Wa izhar, the third one. Okay? So ikhfa, idgham, and izhar. These are your 3 rules for mim sakina. Then they use the word faqat, only. Why? Because noon sakina had another one. Do you remember which one it was? Iqlab. So here we don't have no iqlab. So they use the word faqat to remind you there's only these 3. Yeah, there's no fourth one. So they mention the first one, fal awwalu. The first one is al-ikhfa. It's written here, al-ikhfa. Okay? عند الباء. This happens at the letter ba. So mim sakina. Mim sakina. After it there's a letter ba. وَسَمِّهِ, and we name this الشفوي. Shafawi. Why shafawi? Because it's connected with your 2 lips. لِلْقُرَّاءِ, for the reciters, for the students of the Quran, or for those who want to master the science of Tajweed and Quran. So al-ikhfa only happens at the letter ba. On page 42, if you look at al-ikhfa shafwi, ikhfa shafwi is performed when ghunna, with ghunna, when mim sakina comes before the letter ba. The mim is pronounced unclearly by slightly parting the lips when pronouncing it. For example, tarmihim, incorrect. Open. Tarmihim bihijara. Tarmihim bihijara. Okay? So that's your first. So now, even though it is ikhfa that we're doing, this is ikhfa that we're doing, but now we need to differentiate between this ikhfa and the ikhfa of nun sakina and tanween. So what do we call this one? Al-ikhfa al-shafawi. So we're adding the word shafawi after it. Shafawi, because of the two lips. Like inna rabbahum bihim. Same thing again. وَمَا هُمْ بِمُؤْمِنِينَ. That's all ikhfa shafwi. You've got loads of examples on the other page as well that you can practice through. On page 44. والثاني إدغام بمثلها أتى وسمي إدغاما صغيرا يا فتى. So here they mention that the second type is idgham. Yeah? Then they mention a word mithl. What does mithl mean in Arabic? Identical. Yeah, same. So identical. So identical meaning, the first one was what? Mim sakina. We're talking about, yeah? So mim sakina. So identical meaning, we need an identical letter. After it. So now they're both identical. So you have a mim sakina. After it is a mim. The makhraj of mim, the makhraj of the second mim are identical from the lips. The sifat that you find in the mim are the same sifat you're going to find in this mim. They're identical. There's no difference. Okay? Twins, Siamese twins. These are your Siamese twins. There's no difference whatsoever. They're both born from the same mother. Same makhraj. Same characteristics. Same everything. They're identical. That's why it's called mithl. So, idgham, you're assimilating these two. Now, if you look at the verse, وَالثَّانِي إِدْغَامٌ, and the second type is idgham, بِمِثْلِهَا أَتَى, when it comes just like it, identical to it. Yeah? وَسَمِّي, and we call it idghaman, meaning idgham, صَغِيرًا, small. We call this the small idgham. Why the small idgham? Ya fata, oh child. Yeah? So, why is it small? Because we're talking about mim sakina. Yeah? And after the mim sakina, the next letter can have a fatha, it can have a dhamma, it can have a kasra, it can have whatever it wishes. But the key thing here is the first letter. Because the first letter already has a sukoon. It's already silent. Remember when you talked about to do idgham, the first one must be sakin. Second one becomes mutaharrik with the fatha, dhamma or kasra. So the first letter must have a sukoon. It can't have a fatha, it can't have a dhamma, and it can't have a kasra. The first letter. The second one has a fatha, has a dhamma, or has a kasra. So in this scenario, Imam Sulaiman al-Jamzuri is calling the first mim sakina, second one mutaharrik, a idgham saghira. By saying idgham saghira, automatically we are informed that there must be an idgham kabira later on, a big idgham as well. Yeah? And there is a big idgham. But this is the small idgham. The big idgham happens if this letter, the first one, also had a fatha, or a kasra, or a dhamma. Yeah? If that was also mutaharrik, then assimilating these two, how would you join these two? For example, so in Surah Fatiha, Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahimi. The next ayah is Maliki. There's your two memes. Remember, it is, yeah? Or it's, hasn't, shouldn't. Yeah? We're trying to abbreviate everything. So here, to abbreviate this, what do we have to do? We need the first meme to become sakin. But this has got kasra. Yeah? Remember in the introduction I mentioned that to take one letter out of the Quran is kufr. Add something is kufr. Change a vowel is kufr. Remove something kufr. Increase something kufr. Quran is the word of Allah. You can't alter it, you can't change it. Like what the Yahud and the Nasara did and the other aqwam before. So we can't change it. So it's a big thing to change something. So but to do our idgham, we must have the first letter sakin. If not, we can't perform idgham. So idgham saghira, the small idgham, is with the memes already sakin. In this scenario, the meme is not sakin. But in order for us to do the meme into the second meme, we must make the first meme temporarily sakin. Temporarily. So how do we do it? We remove this kasra. Yeah. So this becomes automatically meme sakina. So temporarily. So we haven't changed the Quran temporarily. Why we do? And we can't, because we stopped there anyway. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. Yeah? Okay, so now we made it into a meme sakina. And there's a meme after it. So now we can do the idgham. We take this meme, put it into this meme, and what do we do? Bring the golden tashdid back again. So how do you read now? So Ar-Rahim. Maliki. Okay. Now remember we talked about madud. We haven't talked about madud, sorry. I touched upon it. Here then it becomes a mad. Why? It's a ya. Before the ya is a kasra. So this is mad asli. Yeah? Okay, now mad asli has a sukoon after it. Yeah? Automatically becomes mad lazim. Automatically it carries a big mad like waladdallin. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim Maliki Yawmiddin. It copies the same rule now. So this scenario has become identical to Al-Haqqah Waladdallin. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim Maliki Yawmiddin. Make sense? Now, because I've done so much here, I took a kasra away, I put a temporary school on there, then done the idgham. This is called idgham kabir. Yeah. This is the big idgham. On mim sakina, we're just talking about the small idgham. That's the big idgham. Now this big idgham, in our riwayah of Hafs, we don't really do it. Okay? All the idgham saghira in the Quran, they've already been done for you. When you read the Quran, you will see the shad here, shad here, shad there. Everything is done for you. Some great, Mufti, Maulana, Qari, Allama, about 1,000 years ago, we'll talk about him on the last lesson, inshallah, who sat down and they put all of this in there for you. Because they knew, in 2022, there's going to be people like me and young people who are going to be struggling to read the Quran. Okay, so they did this about 1,000 years ago. So this wasn't part of the Quran. The tashdeed, the shadda, madda, they weren't physically there. These all came after. Okay, so we'll talk about that inshallah. What I want you to understand, for idgham to happen, point number one, for idgham to happen, the first letter out of the two must be silent. Sakin. Okay? That's your key point. And if it's already sakin, then it's going to be idgham saghira. If the two letters that are being assimilated, the first one is not a sakin, and you have to make it into a sakin letter, then it's going to become idgham kabira. That's the only difference between the two. In our Quran, all the small ones are already done for us. The big ones are not done for us. Because in our way of recitation, we recite it as Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim Maliki Yawmiddin. Mi, this one, Ma. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim Maliki Yawmiddin. And according to the riwayah of Susi, in the riwayah of Susi, they do every single idgham kabira. Wherever it comes in the Quran, they look for opportunity and it's done. Because that's how the Prophet ﷺ also recited. Yeah? Like for example, أَلَمْ تَرَ كَيْفَ فَعَلَ رَبُّكَ بِأَصْحَابِ الْفِيلِ أَلَمْ تَرَ كَيْفَ. So كَيْفَ فَعَلَ. See the two files there. كَيْفَ فَعَلَ. كَيْفَ. Okay, then فَعَلَ رَبُّكَ. فَعَلَ لا لام, and then ra next to each other in makhraj. Okay, so the qarib in makhraj, the mutaqaribain, and they'll do idgham there as well. So alam tara kayf fa'al rabbuka bi ashabil fil alam yaj'al kaydahum fi tadlil, and then the rest of it continues as normal. So I hope that makes sense. If you look at page 45, وَأَنْتُمْ so meme and meme. The first one already is sakun. وَأَنْتُمْ and you all Muslimun, believers. وَأَنْتُمْ Muslimun. So when meme sakina appears before its alike, i.e. another meme, then idgham is performed by assimilating the first meme into the second meme. Ghunna for the duration of how many haraka? Two vowels, meaning two haraka, is also observed during the idgham. So I can't read وَأَنْتُمْ مُسْلِمُونَ. Might sound nice, but it's incorrect. So two haraka. So the duration and وَأَنْتُمْ, yeah, the duration that you're going to read the noon sakina, the same duration on the meme. So وَأَنْتُمْ مُسْلِمُونَ. وَأَنْتُمْ مُسْلِمُونَ. You can't make one longer and one shorter. Can't read وَأَنْتُمْ مُسْلِمُونَ or وَأَنْتُمْ مُسْلِمُونَ. So they have to be identical. So وَأَنْتُمْ مُسْلِمُونَ. One of them has two haraka only. Okay, here the next section, terminology. Two letters are called mithlain if they are identical. Okay, two letters are called mithlain if they are both identical, like the meme and the meme. Since this idgham involves merging two identical letters, okay, meaning two memes, it is called idgham al-mithlain. Al-mithlain, the assimilation of two identical letters. Number two, the first letter was sakin prior to doing the idgham. So before we done the idgham, it was already sakin. Okay? Then the idgham is called saghir. Yeah? It's called saghir. Why? Because prior to doing the idgham, it was already sakin. that's why it's idgham saghir. Examples: in kuntum mu'minin fi qulubihim marad wa amanahum min khawf. Now, page 44 again. Let's look at the last example, the last category. والثالث إظهار في البقية. The third is إظهار في البقية. So what's بقية now? The remaining. So remaining letters. So yes, apart from the ba and the mim and alif, or including alif. Can you include alif? No, you can't include alif. Why can't you include alif? Because they will never come together. So baqiya, from the remaining Arabic alphabet, okay? The entire Arabic alphabet except for the ba and the mim. And alif we talked about. We're going to do what? Izhar. Min ahrufin, from all the letters. وَسَمِّيهَا, and we're going to name it what? Shafwiya. Yeah, and we're going to also name this Izhar Shafwi. Why Shafwi? To differentiate between the Noon Sakina rules. Okay, because Noon Sakina also had Izhar. So we need to differentiate between two. So this is Shafwi again. Why is it Shafwi? Because Mim comes from Shafatain, from two lips. So this is Izhar Shafwi. Then they mention something very important. They say wahdar, and be warned, and be very careful. Yeah, they're warning us with something. Wahdar lada wawin wafa an takhtafi. Wahdar, and be warned. Wahdar lada wawin wafa an takhtafi, that be careful on the waw and the fa. Be careful of the letter waw and the fa when it comes after the mim sakina. Why? Let's look at this. So you have a mim sakina, and after it we have a waw or a fa. Mim sakina with a waw or a fa after it. They're warning us that be very, very careful when these two letters follow a mim sakina, because this is where we make common mistakes. They mentioned the reason. They mentioned liqurbiha, because they're very, very qareeb. These three letters are very, very close to each other in makhraj. Excellent. So in makhraj they are very, very close. They're all from the shafatain. Yeah. Why didn't they mention the letter ba? Because look, mim shafatain, waw shafatain, fa shafatain, one letter missing, ba. Because ba has already been covered in ikhfa. Ba is the other shafatain letter, and ba has its own rule, ikhfa, shafwi. Yeah? So ba has already been covered in ikhfa shafwi. It has a unique rule. The other two letters that remain alongside the mim from shafatain are the waw and the fa. And because they're very qareeb in makhraj, Shaykh Sulaiman al-Jamzuri is warning us. Wahdar. Yeah? Wahdar lada wawin wafa an takhtafi. Okay? And an takhtafi means not to conceal. Okay? So waw and fa, not to conceal the mim into the waw or the fa. Don't conceal the mim into the waw or the fa. لِقُرْبِهَا, because of the qareeb in makhraj. وَالِاتِّحَادِ فَعْرِفِي, and the unitedness, the unity. You know, Ittihad, like Ittihad Stadium, Manchester. Ittihad means united. Yeah, that's what Ittihad. So they mentioned وَالِاتِّحَاد, and the unity between Mim, Waw and Fa, being from the same locality, same area. It's like when Pakistanis come to UK, we stick together. We don't go and live in other communities. Bengalis will live together, Gujaratis will live together. We're trying to keep it own. Yeah? So they mentioned that here, لِقُرْبِهَا وَالِاتِّحَادِ, because these are all from the same locality. Shafatain, so they're going to stick together. فَعْرِفِي, and know and understand this warning. So if you turn page over, on to page number 48. When a mim sakina precedes a waw or a fa, extra care should be taken not to conceal or merge the mim into the fa or the waw. Concealing or merging the two letters, ikhfa or idgham, is an easy mistake to make. So what was this one? Ikhfa or idgham. But what we need is izhar. We want to be doing izhar here, but you might end up doing idgham, or you might even end up doing an ikhfa on these two letters. So you got to be very, very careful. It's an easy mistake to make, as all three letters are pronounced from the lips. Let's look at some examples. أنفسهم وأهليهم. So look at the mim sakina here in red and the waw after it. أنفسهم وهم. See, hum wa, hum wa, hum wa, hum wa. So don't read it as أنفسهم وهم or hum wa. Exactly. So one way, so if you're going to ikhfa, ikhfa would be أنفسهم و. Idgham would be أنفسهم و. So both of them too you can't do, because it's so قريب المخرج. But rather izhar. So how's the izhar? أنفسهم و, hum wa. So keep them both separate. In the second line, with the examples that are given, فَأَنَّا لَهُمْ إِذَا جَاءَتْ هُمْ ذِكْرَاهُمْ hum. Again, mim sakina. The next ayah, فَعْلَمْ. So no. Now here, hum فَعْلَمْ. Hum فَعْلَمْ. Hum فَعْلَمْ. So don't do hum fa'lam, because you automatically think it's a noon. Hum. You can't do hum fa. You can't do idgham huffa lam. Yeah, but rather hum fa'lam. Hum fa'lam. So make sure you separate between the two. Inshallah. Any questions on that? So ikhfa rules are very, very simple and they're not hard. If you go to page number 51, page 51 summarizes everything that we've done so far. The summary of the previous rules. Noon sakina and tanween. How many rules were they? 4 rules. What are the 4 rules? Good. So, and how many letters in total do we cover? All of them. Okay? We cover all the letters. Okay. So, if a noon sakina is followed by a noon sakina, what rule would apply? Noon sakina, idgham. Noon sakina with a noon sakina, idgham. If a noon sakina and a meme after it, no iqlab. Yarmadun letter. So again idgham. So yarmadun. So ya, ra, meme, lam, waw, noon. These 6 letters coming after noon sakina, all of them are idgham. So noon sakina with the waw, idgham. Noon sakina with the noon sakina, idgham. Noon sakina with the ya, idgham. Noon sakina with the meme, idgham. What about noon sakina and lam? Still idgham. Noon sakina with the ra, still idgham. Okay. Then izhar letters. What are the 6 letters for izhar? Hamzun faha'un thumma aynun ha'u muhmalatani thumma ghaynun kha'u. So when you keep singing through the poem, eventually you'll be able to recall the actual verse from the poem. Yeah? So what are the letters of izhar? Hamzun faha'un. Hamza and ha. Thumma aynun ha'u. Then aynan ha. Muhmalatan means dotless. Yeah? Thumma ghaynun kha'u. And they're written in tartib. Yeah? So they're the 6 letters of izhar. If the 6 letters of izhar come after noon sakina, what do we do? Idgham. Yeah? Yeah? You agree, yeah? So huruf al-halqiyya, when they come after a noon sakina, we don't do idgham. We do izhar. What's izhar? We just make it zahir. Like an'amta, not an'amta. Okay, iqlab, qalb. Yeah? Qalb literally means to change. What is a qalb? Heart. So why do we call iqlab qalb? What's the similarity? So noon sakina with a ba after it, what are we changing? The noon sakina into a meme. So we change it, don't we? Yeah? So this change is called qalb. Why do they use the word qalb? Because the heart also changes. I love you, sir. I hate you, sir. I love this. I hate this. A human heart keeps changing. Yeah? So the change, hence why they use the same word, qalb. Hello? Okay, and the remaining letters, we're going to do what on them? Ikhfa. How do we do ikhfa? We conceal. How do we conceal? Towards the letter that's going to come after. By getting ready for the letter that's going to come after. A good example would be وَوَجَدَكَ ضَالًّا فهدى لن fahada, not lan fahada. No, because I've just done ghunna on it. Yeah? So that's probably the best example to give to any student. وَوَجَدَكَ ضَالٍّ. Remember the like ولا ضالين. وَوَجَدَكَ ضَالًّا فَهَدَى. لَن فَهَدَى. What's the duration? 2 haraka. Always 2 haraka. Okay. Noon sakina. Sorry, noon and mim mushaddadatain. What is the ghunna? The nasalization sound. So again, once you practice the poem, وَغُنَّ مِيمًا ثُمَّ نُونًا شُدِّدًا. Simple. So what you just said, وَغُنَّ مِيمًا ثُمَّ نُونًا شُدِّدًا. You do perform ghunna on mim and noon when shuddida, when you have tashdid. وَسَمِّي كُلًا, and we name both of them. وَسَمِّي كُلًا حَرْفَ غُنَّةٍ بَدَى. And we call them both the letter of ghunna. Simple. So rather than scratching your head, ghunna is when there's the nasalization sound, and what else was there about it? You can't remember top of your head. So if you have to give a lesson top of your head, you might mention something, miss something. But once you've got it in poetry, in a text form, and you've memorized that, it makes it much, much easier. So وَغُنَّ مِيمًا ثُمَّ نُونًا شُدِّدًا وَسَمِّي كُلًا حَرْفَ غُنَّةٍ بَدَى. Okay? Okay, mim sakina rules. How many are there? 3. And 3 with a faqat. Only 3. Why only 3? Because the previous ones, nun sakina, there was 4 rules. So now it's only 3. Which one's missing? Iqlab, the changing one, yeah? Because in mim sakina, we don't change. Yeah? Okay, why don't we change in mim sakina? It's already a meme, so you don't need to change it into a meme. Perfect. You should teach the next course, inshallah. So, ikhfa, mim sakina, the first rule, ba after it. What are we doing? Ikhfa. What's ikhfa? To hide. Yeah? Secret. Khufiya. You know, we use it in Punjabi and Arabic. Khufiya. Khufiya means what? Secret. Undercover. Yeah? Ikhfa. To conceal. To hide something. So what are we hiding here? The mim sakina. Where are we hiding it into? Towards ba. How are we going to do it? ترميهم بحجارة. ترميهم. Little paper gap. ترميهم بحجارة. Okay, next rule. Idgham. What's idgham? Assimilating 2 into 1. Yeah? Just remember squash. Rabina squash, orange squash. Yeah? You're mixing it together, so you can't separate them. So how are we going to do it? The first one is going to be a sakin letter. That's a must for idgham to happen. They both can't be mutaharrik. Mutaharrik literally means letter that has a haraka. Haraka means movement. How do we make a letter move? How do we make a letter dance? Fatha, Dhamma or Kasra. So if he has a Fatha, A. Kasra, E. Dhamma, U. Yeah? So that's why it's called haraka. Haraka literally in Arabic means movement. Yeah? In Punjabi as well, in Urdu. Yeah, harkat. I didn't like his harkat. Yeah, I didn't like his move. I didn't like what he done. Yeah? Or it's a sly harkat. Or shodi harkat. That's what harkat is. So movement. Okay? Same in Arabic is also movement. Yeah? So the first one can't be mutaharrik, meaning it can't be moving, meaning it has to be silent. It has to be silent. The second one must be mutaharrik, meaning must have movement. Ma, mi, mu, anything. The first one must be silent. Then what do? We take the first into the second one and we do idgham, and we give a little tashdeed on top. Okay? And the example that we looked at, and if the first one doesn't have, if the first one is not sakin, it's mutaharrik, yeah, then it's going to become what? Idgham kabir. Yeah? Why? Because we have to physically move the fatha or dhamma or kasra from the first meme. So it's going to be a big thing that we're doing. Yeah? But in this scenario, the meme is already a sakin, so it's going to be idgham saghir. Which type of idgham is this? Mithlain. Mithl. Identical. Yeah? Mithlain means identical. There's no difference. It's like when the Prophet ﷺ fasted continuously, 2-3 days consecutively without eating or drinking. Some other companions also tried to copy the Prophet ﷺ, and they stopped eating and drinking. So after a few days, the Jamia, the congregation became very weak. The Prophet ﷺ asked, where is such and such a companion? Where is such and such a companion? How come they haven't come for salah? And the companions that were present there, they said to the Prophet ﷺ, oh, they've seen you not eat and drink for days, and they too are not eating and drinking for days. At that time, the Prophet ﷺ said, Ayyukum mithli. Ayyukum mithli. Which one of you is like me? Meaning, none of you are like me. Yeah? I'm unique. So here the mithl meaning identical. Who is identical to the Prophet ﷺ? Nobody. Yeah? To be identical like the Prophet ﷺ, number one, your father must be Abdullah. Yeah? Your mother must be Amina. You must have a seal of the prophethood on your back. Yeah? You must be able to speak to Allah, see Allah and Mi'raj. So nobody is like the Prophet ﷺ. So the Prophet ﷺ said that Allah, gives me food, gives me nourishment, but He doesn't give it to you, He gives it to me. So ayyukum mithli. The word mithl means identical, no difference whatsoever. No difference. Make sense? So here we're looking at idgham mithlain, identical. There's no difference between the two. Yeah? And that brings us to the end of the meme sakina rules. Sorry, the last one, izhar. So meme sakina again. Meme sakina, after it there's a waw and a fa. So here now, what do? Izhar. Meaning we're going to read the meme clearly, the way we were reading noon sakina. Remember? An'amta, an'amta, an izhar. Don't elongate it, and it'll become what? A ghunna. Similarly here now, we're going to do izhar of the meme. We're going to read it just the way we used to read the an. So here, we don't elongate it. If we elongate it, it'll become a meme ghunna. Yeah? So we need to keep that short, sharp, and clear. Just the way we were keeping the noon sakina, short, sharp, and clear. Now the difference is here, with the meme here, Shaykh Sulaiman al-Jamzuri rahimahullah, they warn us, after the meme sakina, if it is followed by a waw or a fa, then wahdhar lada, wawin wafa an takhtafi. Be warned about the waw, be warned about the fa when they come after meme sakina. Why? An takhtafi liqurbiha, because they're very close. Remember, qurbiha wal-ittihadi, and ittihad, Man City, United, ittihad, same makhraj, same place. Yeah? واحذر لدى واو وفاء أن تختفي لقربها والاتحاد, because of the قريب المخرج, and they united in what? Characteristics. Meaning, or close in characteristics. They're not identical in characteristics. Yeah? So, والاتحاد أن تختفي. So, when that happens, be very, very careful. Don't end up doing an idgham on them. Don't end up doing a ikhfa on them. But do your izhar and read it as clear as possible. Make sense? Any questions? No? We continue or we cut it short today? I've covered what I wanted to cover today. How's everyone feeling?
To be honest, be overwhelmed with so much
Okay, then
concepts to
Yeah, I think it
simulate
could be.
and
look, you've already studied this. The only difference now is I'm trying to explain it to you in 2-3 different angles. So when you come to teach it, you can at least pick one of the angles.
that's a difficult bit.
Practice.
Practice.
Yeah. Practice, inshallah. I think we call it a lesson today, inshallah, and then we'll continue tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to go on to the lam of ta'rif, Shamsiya Qamariya letters. So again, Shamsiya and Qamariya letters again come under idgham again. Yeah? Shamsiya comes under idgham. Idgham is probably the most difficult topic. If it's not taught correctly or not understood correctly. So you'll notice when I go into idgham more detail, especially in Mithlain, Mutaqaribain and Mutajanisain, it becomes very, very difficult. And that's where you lose your students. That's when the students basically just switch off and you're just talking to yourself. But inshallah, I think I should be able to explain it in the easy way to make it understand, inshallah. Jazakallah.